Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is SOL 4.1C, and that SOL deals with rounding numbers. Remember, your learning intention is that you'll be able to round whole numbers to the nearest 1,000, 10,000, and even as far as the 100,000s. But remember, your number can go all the way up to the what place, ladies and gentlemen? Go ahead and say it.
Million.
It can go all the way up to the millions place. All right, remember the other day we walked out our rounding on the hundreds chart. So we know all of the steps, but we're going to review them. Step 1 is to carefully read and annotate the directions so that you will know what place you are rounding to. What do you think we should highlight? What do you think we should highlight? Okay. All right, let's take a look and see. There we go. The number 1,487, and you could have a comment in there, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I didn't put my comma in. And then nearest 100. So we need to know where we are rounding to. What's the next step after we do that? Next step. Not yet. Very next step. It is a chart, but it's the what chart? Very good. You put your number in the place value chart so that you can make sure that you're rounding to the right place. What's our very next step? Underline the 4 because that's where you're rounding to. Underline the place value that you're rounding to, and then, because this is two parts, get out your monocle, put it over your eye. You round it to, you underline the place you're rounding to, ma'am.
And then you circle the right next door.
You circle the guy right next door. Remember that right is important because he has two neighbors, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He has one to the left, which is the thousands place, and he's got one to the right, which is the tens place. We want to say circle the digit right next door. There we go, which is 8. Next step. Who knows the next step? Next step.
We're supposed to put the high 10 and low 10.
Before you can decide about the high 10 or the low 10, you've got to know your two-digit number. You have to know what your two-digit number is. And our two-digit number, everyone, is?
48.
Okay. So we're looking at the two-digit number 48. Now we can write our
High 10 and low 10.
high 10 and our low 10. If we're looking at 48, what is the high 10?
It's 50.
And what is the low 10?
40.
There it is. Now what do I have to do? Everybody take your finger out and draw a line under the place value and then do what? Circle right next door. Then write the
High 10
and the
low 10.
and
Everything in
very good. Everything in between. High 10, low 10, everything in between. Who knows the very next step that we're supposed to do to complete this problem? The very next step.
Write a line between the 4 and the 5.
We got to put our wall in between the 4 and the 5. Remember that there's not an equal number of numbers between the two tens, so there had to be some kind of rule. And the rule that they made was put a line between the 4 and the 5 because that's going to be where your cutoff is. Anything 4 or below is going to go to that lower 10. Anything 5 or above is going to go to that higher 10. Next step. Circle your two-digit number. There it is, 48. And then
Since the wall is between the 4 and the 5, you go to 50.
very good. And what you were saying is round without,
Passing the wall.
very good, going over the line. Round your number without going over the line. Who wants to tell me about this step right here? What are we doing here?
Changing it to a 0.
Not yet. What's that step right there?
You write your thousands.
Where did we just put our number? We rounded to that high 10, and then we put it where? We put it where? Where did we put our number? What this shows where we put our number. Where did we put our number?
You put your number under 1,480.
You put it under your 2-digit number back in the place value chart. What comes next? Now it's in the place value chart. What's the point of putting it in the place value chart? Okay, the last 2 steps when we put it in the place value chart, the whole reason is so that we can bring down the numbers that are to the left. Good, because if they're left, turn to your neighbor and tell them. If they're left, you're going to do what? Leave it alone. If they're to the left, leave them alone, okay? And if they're to the right, what are you going to do? Everything becomes a 0 to the right, okay? So we rounded 1,487 to the nearest 100, and it became 1,500, okay? Here's the other thing that you need to look at. The last digit in your number that's an actual number is going to be the place that you rounded to. Very good. Everything else to the right should be a 0. So I can tell where I rounded to because it's the last digit that appears there. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are your rounding steps.